Yo, yo, yo. What is up, y'all? Welcome back to Heaven on Earth. I think we're on episode 8, Freddy?
Episode 7.
Episode 7.
Because we skipped one, remember?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the one that the Holy Spirit held. He held that one to himself.
He sure did.
But nice to have you guys back. There's no Cam today. Everybody pray for Cam. He's doing well, just been real tired, and he has quite a busy weekend ahead. We're going to be helping with the church, but he needs to get some extra rest. But yes, everyone pray for him. Love him to death. Freddie, how's your week been, man?
It's going good, brother. It's going good. I'm excited. Thank you. I'm going to co-pilot with you, man. I want to give a shout out to everyone, man. Hey, thank you so much for following us on Heaven on Earth podcast on all platforms, YouTube, TikTok. Man, we're getting a lot of people hitting us up on TikTok, brother. I don't know if you're paying attention, man.
Nah, I've not been on social media, I think, in like a week and a half. So thank every single one of you guys that have been reaching out and supporting us. It's truly appreciated. But at the end of the day, this is the work of God, and this is not for our own gain, but all we want is for the world to be in a better place and for everyone to live that kingdom living lifestyle that's been written all over the Bible. But today's episode, we're going to start off a new series.
Nice.
This episode is going to be in the Book of Ecclesiastes. So we're going to be reading some of the word and relating it to what we've seen in our lives and what we're getting out of it. And then after this series, we're going to have a bigger series, not even a series, a project. And that's going to be a surprise. We'll disclose that towards the end of this series. But just to get into it, we'll get into the Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1. And we're going to read a few chapters and a few verses. But we'll start with chapter 1. So, the words of Koheleth. So, Koheleth, that means the assembler. So this is talking about Solomon. The words of the assembler, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Utter futility, said Solomon. Utter futility. All is futile. What real value is there for a man and all the gains he makes beneath the sun? One generation goes, another comes, but the earth remains the same forever. The sun rises and the sun sets, and glides back to where it rises. Southward blowing, turning northward, every turning blows the wind. On its rounds the wind returns, all streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place from which they flow, the streams flow back again. All such things are wearisome. No man can ever state them. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear enough of hearing. Only that shall happen which has happened. Only that occur which has occurred. There's nothing new beneath the sun. Sometimes there's a phenomenon on which they say, look, this is new. It occurs long since in ages that went before us. The earlier ones are not remembered, so too those that will occur later will no more be remembered than those that will occur at the very end. We'll pause right there. That sounds like a lot, and it is a lot.
No, it is.
But this is the part of Solomon when he's letting everyone know. And first of all, before I even explain this part, people need to understand Solomon was the wisest person that ever lived outside of Jesus Christ. The wisest. And in Ecclesiastes, what he does is talk about him trying everything that the world had to offer and his revelation and the answers that he got from it. So that first part that we just read is Solomon just telling us off right now, there's nothing new that happens. There's nothing different that ever happens in the world. What you're going to see tomorrow has happened in the past. What happened today has happened in the past. Nothing new comes from it. And where it says, sometimes there's a phenomenon of which they say. So this is verses 10 of chapter 1. Sometimes there's a phenomenon of which they say, look, this one is new. It occurred long since in ages that went before us. So an example I'll give, and it's an extreme example, is gambling or people trying to earn money quickly. They may try to tell you like, hey, bro, look at this. Look at what we're doing. It's happened in the past. It's nothing new. They just try to reinvent it or just try to like, what is the word? Present it like it's new. But it's things that have happened in the past. Guess what? If you get money quickly, you're going to lose it just as fast as you ever got it. And that's what Solomon is trying to tell us. Like, he uses nature as an example. Generations come, generations go. And then another generation comes. And it's a cycle. Mm-hmm. And then you have the sun. The sun rises, the sun sets, and then it rises again. You have the winds. The winds come, the winds go. However, we always want to try to predict like what new is going to happen. And it's like nothing new is going to happen. It's one of those where it's saying like, no, go with the flow of life. Don't try to figure all of these things out because you're just going to weary yourself. And we've seen it in our lives. We've seen when we try to figure out every single thing, try to be in control of every single thing, our lives is very wearisome. For me, my February was tough. Even beginning of March was tough because I was trying to be in control of so much in my life that I didn't need to be in that control. I could have just relinquished it, but I worried myself just because I tried to know every little thing that was going on, and I'm exhausting myself. And then not just exhausting myself, now I'm building resentment towards people. I'm getting hurt by little petty things. But Solomon is like, hey, and that's why the Bible's here. It's a book of instruction. It's like, hey, listen to what I'm telling you. It's going to save you so much more time. And for example, it's like the older you get, you should learn. And if you do build that wisdom, like if I would have just listened to understand, I could have avoided so many things. Our problem is though, at youth, we want to go try it for ourselves because we think it's not going to happen to us. Hey, don't drink and drive. Don't do this. Don't do that. Or the best scenario, don't put your hand on the stove while the fire is on. Or after we just cook something, it's going to burn you. I don't know if it's going to burn me. And then children will touch it and then it burns. And it's like, I shouldn't have done it. If you would have listened in the first place, guess what? You wouldn't have hurt yourself. You wouldn't have a burn mark on your hand. And you'd go through life without that hurt. However, we want to learn the hard way. We harden our hearts and we want to learn the hard way. And that's why the Bible is here. You don't need to learn the hard way. Stop trying to learn that way. Just follow instruction and you'll be saved. And guess what? You'll be elevated so much faster than how long it's taken you. Because we've been through struggles. You've been through struggles, right, Freddy?
Of course, yeah.
But if you would have listened to what people had told you, wise people would have told you, or the words of wisdom that came out of people's mouths, because even a fool sometimes can spit wisdom to you. But if you would have listened for that wisdom and to understand, you would have avoided so many things. I would have avoided so much more things. You know, like one of the stories I can say is like sports wise, like as a captain of one of my football teams, coach used to say, John, don't have this attitude. Like we tell you to do something, just do it. It took me 2 years to finally realize that. And I was like, wow, if I'd have listened the first time they told me, I wouldn't have went through so much struggle that I went through when I messed up relationships because I burned bridges, you know? And it's just one of those. But what do you think, Freddy?
Well, you know, I really like what you're mentioning, and I think a lot of people could right now, as they're listening to what you're saying, they're actually paying close attention because this is something that we, in one way or another, we've gone through it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're mentioning like, you know, the perfect example. You say, hey, don't put your hand on the stove, right? It's gonna burn yourself. And here you are trying. And that's the same thing. What happens in life, man? In life, you know, you have people that want to help you in life, that want to give you a word of wisdom, encouragement, mm-hmm. allow you to say, hey, I don't want you to go that path. Example, I speak for myself. I have kids. You know, soon enough you will have your kids, and you'll be able to assimilate the same stories. But you know, I tell my kids, I say, hey, don't do this, don't do that. And you know, and in their heart, you know, I mean, I'm thinking as a child, or even that as people, we want to be able to find out for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see this, and I'm already seeing my child, and I'm like, you want to try it, huh? You know, you kind of like, you know, you want to say, hey, you want to supervise, right? You want to do it because guess what? This is all of, who doesn't go through this, right? You know, who doesn't go through this wanting to learn on your own?
Right.
And in a sense, yes, it builds character, but you know, you're trying to avoid a casualty here. You know, you're trying to avoid something that, you know, unneeded pain, unreserved feelings, right? And you're right. You know, what you're saying is dead on. You know, like, come on, guys. We have the Bible. The Bible's telling us clearly. It's trying to tell us something. It's trying to, you know, be clear with us. It's telling you that, you know, it puts people there to help you, to guide you. Now listen. Now, you know, we have to listen, and sometimes it's hard for folks.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. It's hard for me, right? It took you 2 years, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard for people to actually, you know, submit in a sense. Well, in a sense, I
No,
want to say
that's a
submit.
great word. No. Submit's a great word. Submit to that wisdom.
Exactly. So you want to submit, and again, I'm speaking for my own family. I'm speaking for my own kids, and you know, the authority is, everybody knows. You know, we got to pay attention to dad, right? My girls know, hey, I got to listen to dad. If he gets angry or whatever, or, hey, dad, I just want to try it and see what happens. Okay, then let's do it. You see, so there's things that, hey, well, for example, funny story. This is happening. This is true. You know, my girl's going through her driving test, right? She's got her license now, finally, right? Yeah. Now she can help me. Yeah, she can help me. And now she's like, okay, dad, you know, thank you for, you know, she tries to drive every day, right, to get that experience. And then she's like, dad, I want to go for a little quick test drive here and there. Well, and I tell her like, hey, well, not right now because it's late, right? Yeah. It's a certain hours here. We know, especially after hours, we know there's people that are in the street, you know, drunk driving or whatever. So I'm trying to protect her and say, hey, try not to avoid driving at night, just because I know that there's a lot of people, young people. I don't know. You hear it all the time. I mean, those people that have this nice souped up cars, right? Yeah. And they're not paying attention one bit, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I'm telling her, trying to, you know, kind of persuade her, but in the same sense, okay, let's go try it so you can see. So I go with her, right? Yeah. I'm trying to be the better person so she can see. And right away, as soon as we're getting out right here, you know, I'm like, and I'm not saying anything. Yeah. I'm just like waiting for her to really like realize. Dad, you're right. Like, you know, like, you know, this guy just rushed right through, and I'm like, see, that's what I'm trying to tell you, right? Yeah. And see that we have people like that in life. You know, they're there to guide us, to help us. Now, are we going to listen, or are we going to listen to the words and get, you know, caught up in the wanting or the desire to do something, or hey, let's do it? Yeah. And the interesting thing is, like, the kindest way like someone can get you to do something is by telling you. Right. True. Facts. However, we see like that as like the harshest thing. Someone can tell you like, don't do this. Who are you to tell me don't do this? Oh, man. I'm going to go do it anyways. And then they go do it. And then rather than just have taken the words and applied it into wisdom, they disregard the words. Then they go out and do it themselves. Then they get punished by life. Like punished by life. Facts. And then they come running back. It's the story of the prodigal son. That's facts. Think you know better. All right, cool. And this is like, that's that unconditional love that God gives us. We thought we know better. Like me, when after like college, I thought I knew better. Mm-hmm. Like I was done. Like I was going to figure it out. And then life humbled me. Hanging out with the wrong crowd. Doing things that I knew I shouldn't be doing. Like I crossed specific lines I knew I shouldn't cross, and God would discipline me. But it's not just like people want to blame God, but it's that God made rules on earth. There's a reason that there's 10 commandments. There's a reason there's commandments. He already set that in the universe. So you won't break them. You'll break yourself trying to break them. Facts. And that's the thing. And then you'll blame God, and it's like, that's not God's fault. God told us, if you read his word, he tells you don't do these certain things.
There's a reason why, because this is going to be the consequence. But then and that's the fall, and that's where sin came in, right? With Adam and Eve, when the serpent lied to them and said, oh, God told you don't eat of this fruit. Nah, he told you that because he's afraid that you're going to be like him. We can't be like God. We don't get to determine those rules. That's the thing about being God. If you think you could be God, make sure you could determine all these rules. If that's the case, jump off of a 100-foot building if you think you're God and see if you live. The only person that can do that and live would be God. And that's one of those, like, and now it's making sense, like, even more and more sense for me. As I speak, like, during a podcast, I'm learning myself. Like, I'm not just, like, talking or preaching or teaching, you know, those that are listening or yourself, Freddy, really talking to me. And, like, off of my experiences and what I did and what I'm learning, it's like, man. And it's the younger people that I meet and I see that have that fire and that hunger for God, I will do anything for them to keep it. If that means that they don't have to make mistakes that I made at their age.
Right.
And then that's the same thing with older generations and the people that I talk to that are much older than me. Like you, for example, you'll tell me certain things like, hey, make sure you just have faith in God. Make sure you trust God in this situation. Because if you don't, you're going to lash out this way and then you're going to mess it up. But how would you know that? One, God's using you to teach me that. And two, you went through it. If you didn't go through it, you saw it.
Exactly.
And it's like, I'm telling you this because I love you and I want the best for you.
And vice, and sorry to interrupt on that portion, Matt, but this is important. I think it's very, and this happens a lot when a younger person tries to tell somebody that's older, right?
Yeah.
And the Bible is very clear in this, man. God uses anybody to speak to you. Now, the question that I always ask people is like, hey, are you willing to listen? Because, you know, in the Bible, it says that, man, God used, you know, even a donkey to speak to somebody, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm not humble, my heart is not humble, it's not right, it's not aligned correctly. And again, by all means, I'm not speaking to anybody out there in any particular reason. I'm just saying, like, sometimes God puts young people there to speak to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And right now, you know, like I love chat. Honestly, I love chopping it up with you because we're so alike and we understand each other and we're so much different in age. I mean, I'm a lot older than you are and you listen. You know, you don't come back and tell me like, Freddy, bro, come on now. Like, you know, like you're actually listening and bro, that's good. And it's hard to find that. And even for me, when I hear you and you're telling me something, bro, I'm humbled, honestly, because I know that I got to listen to how God is using you to speak to me, something that he wants to relay. Yeah. And we got to see it that way. You know, God uses people to speak to you. Yeah. And you just got to be willing to listen. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's sad sometimes. And I say this because I've done this with older siblings or even older people in church. Yeah. And they stopped talking to me. It's like, well, wait a minute. What did I say? I have to come back and apologize. Hey, did I say something wrong? Like, you know, last week I said something, but I was just speaking my heart because I felt this way. But then, you know, I saw the difference in you during service and, you know, so I just want to come and apologize and I got to be the better man. Right. Yeah. But then you feel guilty, right? You kind of like, golly, like Lord. Yeah. You know, and I have to come back to God and then come back and then God comes back to me and says like, bro, I just told you to say what you needed to say. And that's it. And that's it. Good. Like, you just do it. Why did you needed to go to apologize? That's him. Yeah. You know, I'm like, that was his thing. And that's something that I'm trying to teach him. But now you made it all worse. Yeah. Because in a situation, now you're putting yourself in a predicament, but because now you're feeling like guilty. Yeah. And he needed to follow through what it was said to him. Yeah. And now you're kind of like, enabling it. You're and enabling him to not, or him or her to not like abide to what was said. Oh man, and that's why it's tough because we do I don't care who it is, even though I say the opposite. Right. There's still a part of me that still cares to be liked. Of course.
And it's like, we don't want people to not like us because like, and the difference where I'd say like with me, you versus some other people is like, we'll say something,
Right.
and then we know that it's harsh, but it's needed to be said.
100%.
It's needed, and it's God that's telling us to tell that person that. And it's just like, we feel, because it's like, man, like, I hope you're okay. Like, I don't want you to feel like, it's not me saying it like as in hate or anything. No, it's like, this is what God told me to say. And I really hope like you're okay. Like, I don't mean it in a condemning way or condensing way. It's just, this is what like God's will that he told me to do with you. Whereas some people, they legitimately just say things just so that they can be liked. Like, they will not do God's will so that they can be liked. God could tell me like, hey, if you were to do something wrong, go talk to Freddy and let Freddy know what he did is unacceptable. And if he continues down this path, he's going to see my wrath. But if he repents, I'm going to put him back up. And then I go, and then I know I should tell you that, and then I see you do it again, or I don't say anything, but that's because I don't want you to not like me, because we've built such a relationship.
And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that people, especially people in church, or even that us as brothers, you know, I honestly think that we need to, I'm speaking for myself, right? And John, and again, you probably shown you probably had other issues, or you encountered this issue.
Yeah.
But sometimes we as older siblings or mature Christians, I feel that sometimes we play, like I mentioned earlier, we play a fault in this. And I think that's some of the things that I'm asking God to help me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm being vulnerable. I'm going to tell you guys, you know, it's something that we need to carry it through, and we need to learn from it. But in the same sense, we need to allow it to play out. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles or issues that people might run into, like, because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Yeah. You know, they don't. I needed to tell you this, but I just know how you are, you know, and I just know you're gonna get upset, and then deep inside, man, God is telling you, but I'm trying to build him, I'm trying to make him grow, and by you not saying that, and by you not doing what I'm telling you to do, you're prolonging from him moving forward. And I'm like, golly, thank you, Lord. You know, like, thank you, because, you know, I understand clearly that I need to follow through, and he needs to follow through because God wants to show him something. Yeah. So carry it on. So for those people that are feeling what I'm saying, follow through, because and wait on the Lord, be patient, and let God work with that person. Remember, sometimes it could be maturity. It could be that God is working with that person, is trying to build character in that person, trying to build faith. And so if we right away come to the rescue and try to shade, then we're stopping God from continuing to follow through when he needs to follow through.
Yeah. And regardless, God's still going to do it, but it's going to prolong, right, or worsen the situation for yourself.
See, and that's
because the lesson was supposed to be for that person, and then for you, you're fine. You're free, you're clear. Go continue on what you're doing. However, we'll put that burden on ourselves. And then God is going to be, you want to take my place?
Exactly.
And you want to carry up a burden that you can't carry? Okay, go ahead. And then you'll see how frustrated you get, the resentment you build, like how fatigued and tired you are. And it's not just in the body, that's in the spirit.
100%.
And it's like, wow. And you saying this was so great, because I was just reading this in Exodus today. Exodus 4, and this we just talked about with Moses,
right?
And this was with Moses when God first came to Moses and told him like the plan, his will of how he was going to get the Israelites out. So Exodus 4 verse 10, and I'm going to read all the way to 17. But Moses said to the Lord, "Please, O Lord, I have never been a man of many words, either in times past or now that you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." And the Lord said to him, "Who gives man speech? Who makes him dumb or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, and I will be with you as you speak and will instruct you what to say." But he said, Please, O Lord, make someone else your agent. The Lord became angry with Moses, and he said, there is your brother Aaron the Levite. He, I know, speaks readily. Do me a favor. So it's not that I'm the one that's saying this. On Google or whatever your search engine is, just search up, what does it mean? What does speaks readily mean? And I had to look, I had to search it up today because I was like, I feel like that's what people talk about with me when they say I'm bold, because I just speak what's being told to me.
It says, speak without hesitation, willing in, readily is an adverb, means easily or without hesitation.
So speaks without hesitation. God's saying, you go and I will instruct you on what to say. And I just need you to just say it. Don't try to hold it. Just say it. Don't try to think about the best way. Just say it. There's a reason why. And as people don't like me, many people that didn't like me because I spoke very readily. But then it's because they didn't like what was said at the moment, how I may have said it. However, it was the truth. And the way that it was said was the way that it was going to be receptive to them and to really burn in their hearts so that it never leaves them. But that's what God said. That was supposed to be Moses himself, but he gave away that. He gave away that blessing that God was trying to give him. So he gave that away. So the Lord became angry with Moses, and he said, there's your brother Aaron the Levite. He, I know, speaks readily. Even now he is setting out to meet you, and he'll be happy to see you. You shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. I will be with you, and with him as you speak, and tell both of you what to do. And he shall speak for you to the people. Thus he shall serve as your spokesman, with you playing the role of God to him. And take with you this rod, with which you shall perform the signs. And I just wanted to go through that because God told Moses what to do.
Right.
Moses said, no, God, please, no, I don't. I am not ready for that. I'm not prepared. And then you read a little bit further down. Shoot. We'll go chapter 6 in Exodus, verse 9. But when Moses told this to the Israelites, they would not listen to Moses. Their spirits crushed by cruel bondage. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, go and tell Pharaoh. And you continue reading through it. And it got to a point, Moses went and told God, why did you tell me to do it, God? Now they don't like me because Pharaoh made life harder for them. Now they don't like me, God, because you told me this. And God is telling them, trust, have faith. This is part of my plan. And it's the reason I'm doing it this way. It's because I need to show people how famous I am. It literally said that.
Wow.
God said, I'm doing it this way because I need people to know who I am. And then it goes later on, God giving his name. My name is the I am that I am. And people need to know that. So God did it. And throughout that story, there were 10 signs that God used to show the Egyptians and the Israelites that God is who he said he was. And then the last one, he was like, and when it was time, God was like, all right, now what's going to happen? You will be freed. And it released them. And the thing is, God's not going to tell us his plans. It's for us to trust because there's a lot of moving pieces. If God was to tell us his full plan of what he had in our lives, let's be honest, how many people would be able to know from start to finish what he just told us and why he told us that? We wouldn't. We can't comprehend what God does. It's just when he tells us something, that just do it.
Right. Hey, so what you're mentioning right now is so crucial and it's so important because in a sense, think about it. You know, you're mentioning about Moses, right?
Yeah.
Moses was giving instructions to go out and speak to, the children of Israel, right? He backpedaled. He said, I can't, I don't speak that well, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like us, right? Sometimes God is giving us something to say, to tell someone, right? And we backpedal, we talk, but God, you know how he is.
Yeah.
Well, God, I'm going to lose that person because I don't want to hurt his feelings. You know,
Yeah.
like he's growing, and you know he's God.
trying.
He's trying, right? What is the first thing that Moses did when the children what is the first thing that Moses, well, and later on if you continue to read,
Yeah.
in that, and when you continue to read that story,
Yeah.
you know, Moses comes back to God and says, Lord, don't do it, because you know, what are they gonna think? What are they gonna say? What is everybody gonna say about?
He said
you
they're
know?
not gonna listen to me.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
God, why? Like, they're not gonna listen to me. They're not gonna want to like obey what I said.
Right,
And
exactly.
then God was like, trust me.
Right.
But then with God, with how much He loves and understands, it was trust me. But here's this as well, just for you to feel better. He was like, throw your staff on the ground. He threw his staff on the ground. It became a snake. He said, now pick it up from the tail. Picked it back up. It turned into a staff. He said, that's sign number 1. Sign number 2, put your hand inside of your cloth. Put his hand inside of his cloth. So take it out. Took it out. He had flakes. His hand was disgusting. It was like a hand of a leopard.
Wow.
He said, put it right back in. He put it in. Said, take it out. Took it out. It went back to normal. He said, that's sign number 2. Sign number 3, I'm going to tell you a word that only they would know. And you wouldn't have known because you didn't grow up in the Hebrew custom, in the Jewish custom, in the Israeli custom.
Wow.
You go tell them this word, and that's my name that they know me by. I said that. So he gave him 3 signs. He went over there. All 3 of them, he did all 3 signs. They all bowed down to, and then they actually relinquished that control. Like, okay, this is somebody that God brought for us to take us out of this. However, their hearts hardened, because as humans, how many times do we listen to something once and we do it? We might do it, but then habits are habits. We'll go back to habits. Pharaoh made life harder after the first couple of signs. And then when he made life harder, the Israelites, the first thing they said was, no, why did you bring this upon us? This is a curse. Life just got worse. And it's no, stop looking at it that way. God's working. There's a reason he's doing it. And the whole time, God's over here. He said, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart on purpose so I can show my power. And then the Israelites didn't even know, oh, by the way, when I get you guys out of this, I'm going to bless you more than you were when you were slaves and getting assaulted. Because you'll see at the end, God told them, go borrow things, the finest things from your Egyptian friends that they will let you borrow. And you're going to be able to keep them. That's going to be your gift.
Wow.
And then he also talked about all the cows, all the herds. You're also going to be able to take with you. Every single one of them is going to be to the point that they're not going to just let you go and try to keep something. No, they're going to tell you, get out of here with all of the things you have. We don't care what you take. Just get out. Do you know how much of a flex that is? But it comes down to perspective.
Right.
And in our eyes, because let's be honest, if I was there as a slave, it'd be hard. Like, I would be hurt.
Right.
And you see it. And it's like, no, God, why are you doing this? I'm looking at it in a bad way. And then God will flip it. But in God's perspective, if you're looking at it like that, it's like, little do you know, I'm trying to get them to rush you out with stuff. I wanted to move expeditiously. I want you to leave with things. I don't want you to go empty-handed. I'll take care of you. But we don't see it that way because we only see it in earthly view. And think about that, if we only see it from our perspective, what in the world makes us think we understand the way God works? But that's the best part. As we continue Ecclesiastes, you'll see Solomon said that. Because that's something, it's not a curse, but there's a synonym that he uses on there specifically where he says, and that's one of the things that God put in man, eternity in our hearts, that we will never be able to know the works of God from the beginning to end. We'll never be able to know. So quit trying to know. Quit trying to understand how God operates. All you need to do is understand his commandments, how to live it properly, and that's it. And just obey it. You do all that, he'll take care of you. And it's that simple.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow. And see how, so love it, man. I love this story because it just brings out a lot of facts not only because of it shows you God's heart, you know, towards his children. Not only that, but it also shows his faithfulness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, think about it. They're enslaved 400 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're there 400 years. Imagine how many generations could have gone by and they could have easily forgotten who God was.
Many.
Right? Many.
Yeah.
So think about it now. Now, when he gave them clear instructions of what to say and actually to tell them the word, you know, to remember. And once you tell them who I am, right?
Yeah.
They're going to remember the promise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The promise. And so, back to the reality of things and you know, coming back to that where we're caught up ourselves, you know, on trying to say certain things, right?
Yeah.
And try to communicate certain things. So I'm speaking to those people that, hey, are in that and they're growing. And I you know, by all means, I myself am growing, and sometimes I got to catch myself, right?
Yeah.
I got to catch myself in a sense where, hey, I'm hearing something from a younger person, somebody's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying attention, man. So every time I'm talking to you, I'm talking to young people, older, younger than me.
Yeah.
I'm always paying attention because God, you know, come on now, God uses people, and I just got to be receptive. I got to be humble. My ear needs to be inclined to listen because I'm always looking out for God, you know, and
Yeah.
God, speak to me. What are you going to have for me, right? Every morning when we wake up, we're always asking God, what do you have for me?
Yeah.
Who am I going to touch, but who's going to speak to me?
Yeah.
You know, how am I going to bless somebody? How somebody's going to bless me through you, showing me your character, you know? And sometimes if we're not paying attention, we can miss it.
100%.
You know what I mean? We can miss it. We see people all the time, and bro, sometimes God uses people that, you know, that sometimes you're like, bro, you just showed me something right now. You know what I mean? Like, you know, somebody, funny story. You know, I was driving and, you know, off the 5 and I'm going there. And so, as soon as you're driving into the freeway, man, you know, I see one of my people, right? And when I say one of my people, I'm seeing a Mexican guy selling flowers, you know?
Yeah.
And I see him there every time, you know? So every time I pass by, I'm always like, hey, you got water? So I'm showing him a bottle of water, right?
Yeah.
And the guy is so happy, bro. He's like, you know, he just comes by, grabs the water. He says, thank you so much, man. You know what? You know, right now that you give me this bottle of water, you know, I'm working. I'm you know, I'm trying. I'm like, dude, if I don't have enough flowers that I brought my wife, I would have been buying flowers every day, right? But I'm just saying, like, you know, humbling guy. He comes, grabs it. Then he shows me the big old bottle there. He was empty, and he was like, I was just thinking, like, you know, I'm almost. I've been here for the last 6-7 hours, right?
Wow.
Working, trying to sell these things, and I'm running out of water. Wow. And I'm like, wow, you know, like, here you are, you know, God used you, right? But in a sense, God's using him, you know, to speak to me. Like, you were obedient, you know, like you were willing to give your water, or, you know, give something.
Yeah.
And if we don't pay attention, you know, we'll miss it. You know what I mean? The blessing is not that I want to bless him, bro. Of course I want to bless him.
Yeah. But it's following what's said at that moment.
Exactly, man. What is that going to teach me, bro? You know, what does he have to say after, man? And sometimes people will teach you, you just got to pay attention. You know, you got to learn to listen, and you got to just be willing to understand, like, hey, God's got a word. He's going to speak, and he'll use someone. He'll use something, right? In a situation to speak to us, man. So just be ready.
No, you just following God's, like, and that's where people mess up. If you just follow what God's telling you to do, a blessing is in store that you are not even thinking of. You saying that story just reminded me, what was it, like 2-3 days ago? I went grocery shopping and I bought snacks. I like the popcorn kettles that's in like a purple bag, I think.
Right.
I bought 2 of them. And I was like, normally I would buy like maybe 3. Right. I just bought 2 and I was like, all right, cool. I remember went upstairs, put my stuff away. I came back downstairs. I saw one of my neighbors, and me and him, we just met one time. And it was cool. And every time we see you, just like, hey, what's up? And I see he's going to work. And I'm like, oh, man, like, bro, it's 3 o'clock. You about to go to work? What they got you, like, graveyard? Like, just sparking convo. He was like, nah, man, you know, I work Caltrans. So I work on the freeways at nighttime. I'm like, oh, dog. God. I was like, you got anything for lunch? I don't know what made me just ask him that.
Right.
But that was God. I was like, you got anything for lunch? He was like, nah, man. He was like, I'd probably just buy something. And I was like, how about a snack? Like, would that be cool? And he was like, no. He didn't even say I'll buy something. Exactly what he said was, we worked through lunch. And I was like, so you don't even eat anything? He was like, nah, man, we just worked through it. We'll be fine. I was like, do you like the kettle corns? That bag? He was like, yeah. I was like, hold on right here. Ran upstairs, got it for him. And dude gave me a hug, and you can see tears flow down.
Wow,
like,
bro.
I appreciate, like, bro, this is the first time we've ever really spoken, like, in a while, and automatically you just give me something. And he, like, I see him just break down, gave me a hug and everything. I was like, yeah, man, have a fantastic one. I didn't notice my other neighbors were all outside looking and watching. And then I was like, okay. And then I'm going back upstairs, and then everyone stops me. And then now I have a whole conversation with my whole duplex. Like,
wow.
Now everyone wants to talk. And then this one lady, mind you, we're trying to finish like furnishing the house.
Right.
And she just brings up, because she had a really nice place, she invites me like in, just like halfway in. And we're just talking. We probably talked for like 20 minutes. I'm just hearing her out. And then I was like, wow, you do have a lovely place. Like, wow. And then she was like, yeah, I got it from this and this place. Like, really great prices. I went and got this wardrobe. I got this. And I was like, what the heck? The things you're mentioning are the things that we wrote on our list that we wanted to get soon. Wow. And then the pricing she's mentioning, I'm like, it's even lower. And the ones I see you have are so magnificent. And then she's like, oh, this is where you go. This is how you're going to do it to get these prices. And it's all ethical. And I'm like, whoa, like, God, you just answered that prayer. Plus now, like, I just met all my neighbors, and you just showed the best part of me to them. And it wasn't me doing something wrong while all eyes are watching. Because again, being a black guy and you're in a predominantly white place, they'll look at you a certain way if you act a certain way. But it was like, wow, God, like, thank you. And it was like that blessing just off of a simple, like, me obeying, like, talk to this guy, and what you have, I provided that for you. But I provided some of that for him. That's and I went and gave it to him. And then a blessing came from it. And I was like, wow. And it's like just how God works. But we never understand. It's just, hey, like you've been telling me, and like I tell others, trust him. Obey what he's telling you. He's going to take care of the rest. There's a reason he's telling you to do these things. And it's just interesting.
And that's facts, man. And actually for those other people that are listening as well, and God is leading someone to speak to you and to tell you things, please don't take it as words of burden, right? Take it as words of encouragement that God is using someone to actually speak to you, to make a 360 change, just analyze, receive the information. Please don't, people tend to, nowadays, you said it earlier. You said, hey, just because now you're a certain age, nobody should be telling you what to do. And we're not there to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you, sometimes God will use you. Yeah. God wants to use you. He wants to use you to speak to people. Yeah. And for those that are on the other side, just listen. Just learn just to stay quiet, right? Listen to what the person is saying. If it does not jive with your spirit, okay, then chug it out. You know what I mean? Don't no harm, no foul. Yeah. But don't take it as an like attack. I said, exactly, an attack. I mean, I'm so thankful that God right now uses people to talk to me now, because in a sense, think about it. If something does happen and let's say I go up in heaven, right? And now it's going to be him talking to me. Yeah. And I said, well, I use these people to talk to you. You didn't listen, right? Yeah. So now when somebody tells me, right? And I'm just paraphrasing, right? I'm just saying, I'm not saying I'm going now, but I'm just saying, like, if it would, I don't want him saying like, hey, I use so to talk to you. And you didn't listen. Yeah. And you were angry. And the words that he said actually bothered you. Yeah. And that's not our intent. Our intent is actually just to be obedient, and hopefully that you can listen and really just pay attention. And if it does not conflicts with your spirit, then let it go. Just say, okay, fine. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that's gonna just show you how God is building you in maturity. Yeah. And the thing is, like, there's also, you need to realize too, how do you think God is going to talk to you if you don't listen to him?
when he talks directly
Fact.
to you, or if you haven't learned his voice when he's talking directly to you, he's gonna use others. He's gonna use something else to talk to you.
True.
And it's on you to humble yourself. Don't think you know better, and let go. Truly, it's a pride thing too.
No, 100%. Yep.
Because it's, who are you to tell me?
Yeah.
If anything, God is gonna tell me myself. And it's like, hey, that's true. Part of that is true. But also, you do understand, like, God is gonna use others to talk to you. And it just blows my mind. Because when I was younger and I thought I knew better, when people would give me words of advice, words of wisdom, nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good. I got it. I know better. I'll get through it. Whatever. And then I just put myself in a worse situation. And then when I realized that it doesn't matter how they say it, how it comes off, but listen to understand the message. Like, oh man, no, what you're saying is true. Like me, I had an emotional outburst at work like a few weeks ago. And I quickly caught on though, because typically if something like this was to happen, I would drag it out and mess up a blessing. But I caught on quickly because the higher ups loved me. And they, like, God was using them to talk to me. And they're saying, hey, John, just analyze what you're doing, because there's two ways that it could, like, you can lose out, or you can humble yourself and fix things and then also grow. And it was like, oh man. But then I was like, no, like, I've had the situations like this come up and I've done it a certain way. And that certain way has always led me down the wrong path. Let me listen. Then I listened. Then I read the word. And guess what? God talked to me right then too. Once I listened to what that person was saying to understand, I understood it. And then I get into the word and I'm reading for the day. And it says the same thing. And I'm like, okay, God, that was you. Let me go ahead and repent right now. And then I repent, and things went from like sluggish and like up and down to just skyrocket back up. And I'm like, wow. Like, I have to humble myself. Like, you have to consistently humble yourself. Listen to the message. Now, if it's off, God is going to be able, God will talk to you. If it's off, he's going to talk to you so that you can correct what's being said or ignore it. But he's going to give you the wisdom to handle the situation. You just have to be trusting to listen. If it's not of God, you will know.
Right away, man.
You will know, because there's no truth that comes from it. But however, it's a pride thing.
Yeah.
If you don't humble yourself, you won't be able to detect if it's truth or not.
Hey, brother, can you search right there in your Bible? Because I know it's different than mine.
Yeah.
Proverbs 11:2. What does it say? Because it's so much different. It's different. It's a different version here, but I want to make sure I catch on to what that one said. Proverbs 11:2.
Proverbs 11:2. Look at you. Look at you finessing. Okay, Freddy. So when arrogance appears, disgrace follows. But wisdom is with those who are unassuming.
Wow. And it says of mine, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility comes wisdom. See, the verse emphasizes the pride leads to negative consequences when humility is associated with wisdom. So, you choose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Proverbs 29:23, a man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. Man, I mean, you go through Proverbs, man, it has so much things about pride. It's talking to us. It wants to, before a downfall, the heart is haughty, right?
Yeah.
Prideful, but the humility comes before honor. I mean, this happened to me at on a later time. And I mean, my earlier days, when when I'm speaking for myself here,
Yeah.
I exposed that because, and when I was younger, as you know, I grew up not being I wasn't a Christian, full on, I was Catholic. Growing up, about 18, 19, I met my wife. She introduced me to to the relationship of Jesus. I want to say that. I was following religion, for many years, but after I met her, I just said, no, it's time to follow relationship, time to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I was encountering that issue, man. I was encountering that issue where I didn't, because of my immaturity, because I didn't know, I was growing up. I wanted to, I desired, have a clear understanding what the Bible said and certain things. And so sometimes, God uses people, and sometimes, like you said, the word is explained to you, and you misconstrue it or you misunderstand it. Right. And that was me.
Yeah.
I felt that God was using people. Hey, tell them this. I remember that as I grown up, I ran into a person at work.
Yeah.
And he was a lot younger than I was, a lot younger. And he had a higher position than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started going in there. I used to do shipping and receiving, right?
Yeah.
And so this person was doing a lot of, he was pretty much like a lead, right? He was kind of like a supervisor, but he was a believer. He was a Christian. And so, and he was humble heart. And he would never lash out at anybody. He would never want to, he never wanted to speak badly about anybody.
Yeah.
And he was tested time after time. And so I came up to him and I said, hey, I have a question. You had an opportunity to be prideful here because of your role and your position, but you've always been humble. You know, what is the key? What has been the key? And he said, my faith.
Yeah.
He said, me knowing God, me knowing that this is just a temporary position for me. Mm-hmm. That's, me knowing that this is not all that God has for me.
Yeah.
Really humbles my heart.
Yeah.
And I just do it unto the Lord, and he has good principles, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one example that I said, okay, good, God, thank you. And then right after, 6-7 months later, I wasn't working at that job, but I was working somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then I was going to church, and I had people wanting to talk to me about the Lord, but I wanted to know on my own, right? You're kind of like, well, I want to understand it for myself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when somebody says, hey, well, the Bible says this, and look, this is what it says.
Yeah.
And you better take my word for it. Kind of like that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the person was trying to do his best, right? To lead, as a leader, he's trying to guide me, lead me into understanding the Bible, into his own perspective. And I don't know anything about it, right? I'm just learning, so I'm taking his word for it.
Yeah.
But in the same time, I'm getting, these emotions, right?
Yeah.
I'm feeling like, man, like I can do that. Like what he's doing, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can read this and I can understand and inside of me, I caught myself and I said, be careful.
Mm-hmm.
This is not nothing. You're not ready for that.
Yeah.
You're just a baby, and I caught myself, see, at a young age, as I'm growing and I'm getting fed, right? Cause we're getting fed milk. I'm not eating meat yet. Right. Mm-hmm. I caught myself, you know what I mean? Like trying to say, well, God is using him to speak to me. How dare I try to push him away and say, well, I can do that. It's easy what he's doing. I can create my own perspective on the word, and I'm like, yeah, but he's trying to do the best, and God is using him and he's being humble and he's trying to do the best. And I just came up and I told him, hey, bro, I'm sorry. And he's looking at me like, why are you apologizing? Like he says, because, you're teaching me, and inside my heart, man, I already want to be at your position, I want to be already there. Like I'm already a mature Christian, and I want to be able to tell people like, hey, here, this is what it says. But I'm still starting to learn to read my Bible. Yeah. I'm still barely, if I'm praying once a day, that's too much, or once a week, that's too much. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm being vulnerable with him, and he just comes and grabs me and gives me a hug and he says, bro, like you just have so much. Look, I've seen so many Christian people that are growing up, right? Mm-hmm. that are learning, and your heart, man, is in the right place, because there is no need for you to come and apologize to me. You could have easily just grown up with it or whatever, just bypass me after 6-7 months, whatever, we move on, right? Mm-hmm. But he says, but your heart, he was able to see my heart. He says, your heart is right, man. Yeah. You came and apologized. You caught yourself, and see, a lot of Christians won't even catch yourself. Yeah. At that level that you're at, so I commend you. I give you props. And he hit me, pretty hard, man. Yeah. Hit me in my chest, bro. Kind of like, when he punches you, when you have that, bro, oh man, I think it hurts. Bro, if that's the case, I'm not, but you know what? But that just tells you, like, hey, when your heart is right, you're not scared to be wrong. Yeah. And so it showed me a lot, man. It showed me that I was still needed more maturity, but but God was still doing his work, right? Showing
Yeah.
me that I can easily, apologize and say, hey, I caught myself,
Yeah.
and I didn't miss it, right? And it comes down to what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you hurt your bosses telling you this stuff,
Yeah.
and you say, forgive me, Lord, right? You catch yourself, right?
Exactly. And there's two sides to that too.
Right?
That point of view is true. And the aspect of but it's one of those you have to check yourself. You checked yourself
100%. Yep.
because you knew like this is not something you grew up on.
That's right.
This is not you're not matured there yet.
100%.
You want to be, but you're not there. And it's best that you take that mentor's
Mm-hmm.
advice and listen to understand so you can grow yourself to where you're there, or you may be excelling what he's doing. Because think about it, he's probably much older. Typically, they're much older than you,
Right.
giving you this word of advice at the age that you're at. You pick that up and learn it within however much time you're able to learn that.
Right.
And then now you start doing that work yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a lot further than when they were at your age. Now you can be able to teach to the younger generation. So it gets to a point that you don't have to wait till you're 40
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to be a man, to learn how to be mature with Christ. You can be 30, and then it gets to the next generation. You can be 20, and it'll be the next generation as a youth. But then there's also the other side of when you have those that have been in the position in church, for example, they've been there for quite some time. And when someone new that they don't know who they are, someone new comes in and they're challenging some of the things that they're saying, but there's truth to the challenge that they're putting on. And it's
Right.
God speaking like, humble yourself. You don't know it all. And a matter of fact, you've deviated from my ways.
That's facts, bro.
And I brought somebody that's going to come humble you and show you how it should be.
That's facts.
And
Wow.
then you have those type of people that the pride comes in the way. I've been doing this for so and so many years. Congratulations. You were. And it's like the story of King Saul.
True.
He was doing it. He thought he knew better, lost sight on what was truly important, which was God.
That's true.
And then let all the praise get to his head and then built up that ego. And then guess what? God brought a King David. And it was like, now you see that kid has a heart after me, and I'm going to show you where you could have been, where you should have been. I'm going to use this kid to show you, and he's going to be my blessed. And then God used that kid to show Saul how humble he should have been. How many times could a David killed Saul? Matter of fact, his people begged him to kill Saul. And David said, I'm not touching my finger. I'm not laying a hand on him. He's God's anointed. God anointed him. I would be a fool to kill him. I will let God continue to work that. And I'll just keep trusting God. Even though he's going to try to kill me and be upset, I'll keep trusting God. The Bible is so great. Woo! We started on that.
Come on. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, but I'm telling you, this is these are the things that that humbled us, bro. The word, you know what I mean? We need to bring back to reading it, man. I love it when we're spending that time with God and just learning. And believe me, there's some challenges sometimes, right? As family and as a family man and my position and my role. But man, the time that I do spend, reading it and understanding, and I always pray, Lord, talk to me, help me, because the younger people, I'm just speaking for myself, and I see the younger generation, like my kids, Lord, please let that desire that I have, that they can also have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of the prayers that I'm always keeping post, and I'm always like staying humble. If something comes from my daughters or my wife, whatever, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, because God is using you right now to speak to me. Mm-hmm. Let not my heart get haughty, just like Proverbs right here says, Proverbs 16:18, it says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall.
Yeah.
See, so I don't want to do that, man. I don't want to get all pumped up, all in a fuzz, and then be humiliated when all I got to do is just Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
This person is trying to speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let him speak his peace, and then you work with me,
Yeah.
and let it confirm through your spirit, and let me hear it. Let me hear him out.
Yeah.
Let me listen to him. Let me just be thankful with humble heart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we choose to do that, man, not only are we releasing the blessing, but we're allowing God to continue or to restart.
Yeah.
You know what he wants to do. You know what he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's super important because a lot of people might tend to miss it.
Yeah.
You know, they'll miss it.
And that's so. I think this is what I'm gonna tie it back to Ecclesiastes
Yep.
of where we're at before I continue, because we'll probably just do chapter 1 today. Maybe we'll do a chapter a day or a chapter a week or something like that, just depending on how the Holy Spirit guides it.
Sure.
But the biggest part where we can fall off of obeying God and hearing His word is when we start paying attention to all the other things around us.
Right.
God can be using us and blessing us and putting us in such a place of honor and rank.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, you've seen it in church. I just said it with King Saul. He used him in a place of honor and rank as the king over Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first king. But instead of continuing to focus on God and obeying him, to continue building Israel and building himself and his relationship with God, he started listening to what others were saying about him.
That's true.
Oh, you're a great man. Look at you, king of Israel. Look at what you're doing, killing all these people. That's all you, man. That's the worst thing to ever hear. When people start telling you, that's all you, man. You did that. You did that. Like, no, I did not do that. God did that. And that's what God asked for. He's going to use you, but redirect it back to him. His name needs to be the one that's famous, not yours. However, when you keep putting his name and keep calling and saying that it's all him, giving all the praise and worship to him, your name is also going to be exalted.
True.
Why? Because he's using you. And he wants people to keep knowing who he is. So guess what? Why would he not use you? If you're doing all the right things, and then people come to you, man, how are you able to do it? God did it. Jesus Christ, my Lord and my Savior, did it. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did it. El Shaddai did it. The I am that I am did it. It's not me. He just uses me for this. I'm a tool. In his game of life, I'm just a pawn. I'm a piece of it. You keep doing that. You telling me he's not gonna want to use you?
Mm-hmm.
And this is crazy to say, but understand this analogy. Put yourself in the place of God. If I was to say, I'll use Freddy to show how wonderful I am. I'm gonna make Freddy the greatest businessman the world will ever see, the wisest man the world will ever see, and a man that can speak whenever I tell him to say something, he does it. He obeys. I'll use Freddy that way. And you grow to that rank, you become one of the richest men. Basically the story of King Solomon. You become that. And as you're doing that, people are just in wonder and in awe at how you're able to do this. Everything you touch turns to gold. Everything you touch prospers. And every time they ask why, you bring it back to me. Do you not think I would want to keep using you?
Of course.
Because that would make more and more believers of me. But that's what we don't understand. Instead, we lose sight of who's doing all these things for us.
That's fact.
And that's why I tie it back to Ecclesiastes and the aspect of he's telling you, like, our biggest problem, we think that there's something new under the sun, that there's something new unseen. And it's like, no, when you just look at the most important things of life, what's been was always like, it's yet to come and it's going to be again. What is going to come has been something that has happened. So when God blesses someone and uses someone, and you hear the story of someone that came from rags to riches, came from absolute nothingness, and then became a blessing and did so many marvelous things. Do you not think that's happened before in the past? Stop trying to figure all these things out. And then you ask them, oh, what did you do that was so different? What's this? What's that? Then they give you the answer that you've heard already. Man, I just trusted God. I did what was being told. I was disciplined. I didn't do these things. I did these things because when you do these things, this is the outcome. And then people get upset like, oh, I already heard that. There's got to be something new. It's that fast, the get fast scheme.
Yep, that's true.
Like you'll hear people that acquired wealth and kept it, right? It's like, man, what did you do? Like, how were you able to get out of the rat race, or how were you able to acquire wealth and do all these right things? Well, I worked hard. I did things honestly. I did things with integrity. My faith played a huge part. Before I did anything, I prayed to God. I asked God that he lead me. They tell you that. And then the ones that the get rich scheme fast, it's like, oh man, we already heard that. We don't need that. Like, what's next? It's literally, that's what it's basically telling you. Like, true. The things that we all are trying to strive and get to, you'll see the person that has it. You'll ask them, what is it that you did? What was it that was different? How did you get it fast? It's like, I didn't get it fast. You don't know my history. You don't know the struggles and the trials I went through. But this is what I did. But people don't want to hear that. They want to, how do I get it without doing the work? And that's why you'll see it. I've learned, I hate whenever someone says, here's the secret, here's the technique, here's the, whatever it is, the tips and tricks. Like, there's no secret, there's no technique, there's none of that. If you want to know how to live a better life, how to enjoy your life, how to actually have heaven on earth, heaven in your life as you're living, the Bible. You want your tips, tricks, secrets, all of that, the Bible. You have to read it, because when you read it, it opens up your mind. You start seeing things in God's point of view. God loves you so much, he shares his point of view. He shares his commandments. He shares his universal laws and principles in the book called the Bible. But that's why I'm like, I always tell people, read the Bible. Why? If you read the Bible to understand and to apply, you will learn how to pray correctly. You will learn how to build your relationship with God. You will learn why certain things are happening in your life, because it's not the first time they've happened. It's happened to other people in the past. There were other people in your type of situation and circumstances that got through what they got through in life. Why? Because they read the Bible. They read the manual. And the problem in life, no one wants to read. Let's be honest.
That's true, man.
You get something from IKEA. How many people read it? Nobody. And it's crazy enough. I think that's something I was blessed with. My mom used to have me, because when I lived with them, like, my mom would have me like build all the stuff that she'd get, like the furniture, like whatever it is, the cabinets, I would build it. The first couple times I tried to do the building, I would do pretty well, and then there'd be one missing piece, and I'm like, whatever. And then I see why I needed it later on. And I was like, but luckily, like, it wasn't something that was so damaging. And it got to the point I was forced to, all right, I have to read the manual and do it correctly.
That's facts, man.
And then it translated for me, like, once I understood the importance of the Bible, I gotta read the Bible. That's the instructions for me getting built.
That's facts.
To put the right pieces in me, to then have me standing on solid ground, solid rock, so that when the life situations of life that gets thrown at everyone, circumstances, I'm not shaken, because I was built properly. I was built with the foundation. I wasn't just trying to do it quickly, and then when things hit, it falters.
That's facts, bro. And see, it's so good that you say that, man, because hey, listen, we all struggle. Yeah. We all have our deficiencies. We all have that downfall where we do not want to read the instruction manual, right? We know it. We know how to, come on, I already know how to put this table together. I got this, right? And then what happens at the end of the whole ordeal? You have all these leftover parts, like you just mentioned, man. Mm-hmm. And these are important, crucial parts. Think about it. These parts are actually what makes it safer. These parts actually makes, where, hey, you missed a couple of bolts right next to the leg. Well, now when somebody sits on it, what happens? It's going to fall, break, come on. And that's the way it is sometimes in life, man. Yeah. If we don't put the right bolts, if we don't put the right, glue, if we don't put the right, the right part into our situation,
Yeah.
if we don't put the right instruction
Yeah.
into our situation from this and from this instruction manual, I'm telling you, we're gonna struggle, we're gonna suffer, we're gonna have issues. And see, a lot of people go through this all the time. And then, and you know, they catch themselves. This happens more. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be the first one to raise the hand. That is me. You know what I mean? That is me sometimes, where I say I skip a corner, and then what happens? Oh, I got caught up with it, right?
That was me too, Freddy. I'm with you, my boy.
Right?
I'm with you.
Right?
That's the thing. We learn how to finesse the system.
Exactly. Yeah.
We learn how to finesse it, because they'll be like, do this, and then you're like, that's gonna be a waste of time. I'd rather go do my own thing. And I know how to make it look like I did it, and they wouldn't know. But it's like, dude, that's why the Bible says whatever was done in the dark is gonna come in light.
Oh, amen.
And then we think we're skipping the corner. Boom. As something hits, it reveals that we didn't do it properly. And then what do? We want to run away.
Right.
We want to hide. We want to go restart.
That's
whatever
true.
it is.
That's
and
true.
It's like, no, stop. And I'm being completely honest. That's the problem in the world. I've been trying to figure out, why is it that I don't quit like when things get hard? The only time I will walk away from something is when I know it is not of God, and I know, like, God tells me, walk away from it. I don't want you here. Like, get out, because I'm going to do something here, and I don't want you here. Only time I'll walk away. But I will not quit. Like, and it's like, why don't you quit? Why do you stay through this? Like, my last job, I was ridiculed every single day. No matter what I did, I could do well for a month straight. Let me just do one thing bad. Ridiculed. And people were like, dude, how are you still here? Did you not just hear what they said about you? Yeah, I'm a stick through it. When I was younger, I had to learn it. When I was playing sports, I came from Nigeria to here, and I'm learning sports. Luckily, I picked up on things quickly. People didn't, like, the better teams didn't want me on their team, so I had to play with the guys that were not as good. And then rather than quit, I would say this is the one good time the pride actually was good, was, nah, I wanted to get to a point. I wanted to beat them. So I'm going to stay through 7 straight losses, but I'm analyzing, what do I need to do better? How do I build myself better? Then I started understanding tendencies. And then that's why I'm a very, like, specific, like, I'm someone that pays so much attention to detail. Like, if we were to play basketball, especially defensively, on the defensive side, give me maybe 3 possessions against somebody, and I can tell you what they're not good at. And I will be able to stop them very quickly. And I'll call it out to them. And it's because of just how much I love that attention to detail. Because I started learning, like, I have to study. I have to study the things that matter in life. If I don't, I'm going to be ignorant. And then that's foolishness. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is foolishness. Because if you don't know how to do something that's important for life, you're effed. F-U-C-K-E-D. I'm trying not to swear as much anymore. I told God I was going to stop doing that. So thank you, God. I still flick myself because I spelled it out. But yeah, it's like ignorance is bliss. Like, you have to learn to read. That's why I've taken it so important and serious for me. Like, I need to be in the Word daily as much as possible. And there's been days, I'll be honest, this year that I've missed days. But it's very, very, very little compared to the past. But it's because I'm understanding the importance of this Bible. The stories I'm reading in Genesis and Exodus, I was crying reading the story of Joseph again to see what he went through. And then it's humbling me to, I'm going through hard times. When I did go through hard times too, there was someone who went through something worse or similar to mine, and this person did not falter or complain. But then to see the promise that God had for them at the end, what he promised them came to pass. So who am I to give up? Who am I to throw in the towel? And that's like what I see. Like, people are so quick to throw in the towel. And it's like, okay, you throw in the towel, you're going to get put in that same situation again and again and again until you decide to face it. You decide to look at it, ask God for help, analyze it, let him use you, let him give you the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to be able to transcend that suffering and that circumstance and that situation. It's so powerful. It's so powerful, but you have to be able to, you have to grow thick skin.
Oh yeah, man.
You have to.
Oh man.
Life is not fair.
Oh, 100%, man. And that's why, that's clear. That's super clear, man. We need to have thick skin on situations sometimes, man. We need to be strong, and we need to understand that, hey, situations are brought upon us so they build us, mold us, and strengthen us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I'm with you 100%. 100%. We need that.
100%. And I mean, we can wind it down, and we'll just finish with chapter 1 of Ecclesiastes, and it's going to explain why God told me that we should have this as the series right now, before we get into our big project. So Ecclesiastes 1 verse 12 is where we left off. It says, I, Koheleth, which is Solomon, was king in Jerusalem over Israel. I set my mind to study and to probe with wisdom all that happens under the sun. An unhappy business, that which God gave man to be concerned with. I observed all the happenings beneath the sun, and I found that all is futile and a pursuit of wind. So all of it is useless. It's pointless. And he goes on to say, a twisted thing cannot be made straight, a lack that cannot be made good. I said to myself, here I have grown richer and wiser than any that ruled before me over Jerusalem, and my mind has zealously absorbed wisdom and learning. And so I set my mind to appraise wisdom and to appraise madness and folly. And he said that, so appraise is to understand. And I learned that this too was a pursuit of the wind. For as wisdom grows, vexation grows. To increase learning is to increase heartache. That's the end of that chapter. So the reason we're doing this is to show people, and even myself, gain that understanding, that clarity. All these things that we chase in life is useless if it's not God.
Facts.
And the wisest man of all time did it all for us. Think about that. He took that test for us to give us the answer to what is the right thing to chase after. What do men get from drinking? From being high? From having all the riches in the world? From having all the women and all the sex and fornication in the world? Like, what do you get for living life in these fashions? And the thing is, people try to tell you, my situation's different. It's this, this, and this, and this. No, Solomon went through all of it. If you look at the bigger picture, there's only a few buckets that we're striving after in our lives. However, we want to, we try to make it like we're the newest. What we're thinking is the only thing that has ever been thought before. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what we think is so unique. Man. And it's like, no, somebody's thought that same thing and they got humbled.
That's true, man.
And if they didn't get humbled, they got sent to death earlier than they should have been.
That's true.
And Solomon is telling you, like, hey, I've done, again, the bigger picture. I've done all of these things that you guys go after, and here's my answer to it all. So the next episodes, we're going to go through Solomon's teachings, his findings, so that we understand all of this is futile. And then he's going to give us the answer to all of it. But we'll take it step by step and have these conversations so that it's like a true realization. And some people are like, oh, well, the Bible's outdated. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's very much the most relevant book to this day.
Facts.
Because all the other books that you hear and you see, they're used for that specific time. You can't use those books back then. And then even though you could use it now, quote unquote, give it 5-10 years, it's outdated. And then you have to create another one. And that's another funny story. Solomon even says it later on in Ecclesiastes. All these books that you write and try to read are useless.
Wow.
They're all futile. And then that's when I was like, it made sense why God put it in my heart this year. Like, the only book that I'm going to read is the Bible. other than what I had for school. But the school thing's a whole different subject. We'll talk about off cam like and later on. But yeah, like, wait, I mean, like, what do you have any words like?
Oh man, I mean, I'm learning right now, brother. Just listening to you, man, it just brings me, I really love it the way this is playing out, man. I mean, when you first mentioned it, hey, we're gonna start with Ecclesiastes, I was like, bro, like, oh man, love it, because there's just so much to learn from it, unpack it. I mean, from the beginning, it talks the first chapter. I mean, look what it says, meaningless, right?
Yeah.
So it's already telling you, like, bro, like, already giving you you looking for that? Meaningless.
Yeah.
You want this? Meaningless. You want that? Meaningless. And then he puts down in perspective, gives you everything that you need to know about, man.
Yeah.
And at the end, he's pretty much playing you out, pretty much creating this small, taking you to a little puzzle, trying to give you like, okay, look at this and look at this and look at this. I mean, the reason why is I read it, and in the beginning, the first couple of times I read it, man, it was like a roller coaster, bro. I was like, really? Why did it say that? And then I go back and I read it. So you should see my Bible. It's red, it's highlighted. Yeah. But then, I put a little, you put a little verse. Go back to chapter 1, verse 26. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's gonna take that. So get ready, get prepared. I have a little notepad right here in front of you, man. You can confirm. John, look, my notepad is ready to go.
I saw you taking notes, man.
Bro, I'm writing because a lot of this stuff that you're talking about, bro, it's facts, bro. You're saying everything that you're saying here is stuff that I went through. Yeah. I read it, so I understand what you're saying. But it gives me so much joy that we're going through it again, because there's questions, man. There's some things I gotta ask you, man. Wait till we get to the next chapter, because I have some things I want to ask you.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, like, for everyone that's listening to the podcast, any questions you have, ask it, please. We also have a Discord server that's live. If you're interested, just DM us on whatever platform that you're listening from.
That's correct.
If it's Spotify, just go to our Instagram, DM us on there any questions you have, so that we can answer it together on the next episode.
That's right. And we want to thank a lot of people, man. We're seeing TikTok, we're seeing Instagram, we're seeing Facebook. Facebook's a little lower, but TikTok is off the hook. We're getting notifications every time people are going in there, posting, liking it. So we're going to start taking some notes, some questions off of TikTok, because TikTok is the one that's very active.
Okay.
And so we'll call out, if you have questions, send us a DM, and we're going to go ahead and post it here. And I'm going to bring them up next time. And I'll just say, hey, the following person said this. Mm-hmm. Questions in regards to, what we just studied. Yeah. And I think it's a good way to engage. And we're hoping that, soon enough, hopefully we get a phone calls in here and people can call in. Yeah. And we can start doing that and making it more interactive. So making it more fun for you guys.
100%. And I just got a text from Cam. He says he loves you guys. He wishes he was on this episode. He will be back next week. Just have to take care of some stuff and get some rest in. But if you ain't got nothing else to say,
I'm good, brother. We'll see you guys next time on the next episode. We're ready, bro. I can't wait. I can't wait, man.
Love it. All right, y'all. Have a fantastic one. On to the next episode. Peace.
See ya.